Are you filled with fear, doubt, worry about the future of our country? Do you feel the urgency to act before it's too late? If yes, then this podcast is for you. It's time for us to confront the critical issues threatening our nation's fabric, our democracy itself, regardless of our political stance. If you are ready to face reality, handle the tough questions, and find real solutions, then here's your host, Debilyn Molineaux.
Welcome to the Terrified Nation podcast. I'm your host, Debilyn Molineaux. Can we save it? Our nation, that is. That's what we're exploring in this podcast series. And for me, the answer, as always, is yes. Yes, we can, and we must. Now, this show is where we explore alternatives to being afraid. And I offer new perspectives and framing about what's really going on. And together, we can learn how to manage our fear and our anger or our rage. We can learn how to find hope in a world that seems mad. And it's up to us, the citizens of this great, flawed, beautiful, and ugly nation, to live into the promise of our founders, each one of us dedicating ourselves to a better future. And I like to start each show with a question that we'll explore together in today's episode. And today's question is this: when you've been ill, how do you know that you're getting better? And I ask this because I'm having that feeling the last few weeks about the nation. Hope is alive. And in many of my friends' circles on social media and on cable news even, there has been this reprieve from a daily sense of doom and dread. And across the US public, we seem to just have like a little spring in our step and joy in our hearts. The future just might be bright again. Now, this atmosphere very much reminds me when an illness starts to recede. One day, the symptoms just seem less severe, and we may even experience a couple of hours of feeling normal before we have to rest again. It's not that the illness is gone, but that we know it will pass. And that's what we're feeling as a nation right now. We have hope that the future can be bright again. There's optimism that what we have suffered for a few years may be ending. This is the power of a future vision that pulls us forward out of our fear and out of our anger. Beneath the angst within the body politic has been uncertainty, leaving many of us just floundering for something to believe in and belong to. Our body politic has been ill with this sense of chronic outrage for years. And it has weakened the bonds of society and really decreased our overall trust in each other. And in case you're wondering, the body politic is just a fancy way of saying all of us American citizens. Now, like the human body, the body politic has parts that are hurt or injured. And we have eaten poison that has been served to us by conflict profiteers. You know, those people who use talk radio or YouTube or podcasts or cable news to keep us feeling angry or fearful or hopeless. It's no wonder that we feel sick. But has the fever really broken? Are we all sick and tired of being sick and tired? I know I am. So how might we, together, assist the healing of those parts that are hurt and injured? As my friend Mark Gerzon notes, when we walk, the left leg doesn't try to hurt the right leg. Our arms don't take sides against each other. That would be weird. We actually need all the parts of our body politic to be as healthy as possible. So what would a healthy body politic look and feel like? I don't have the answer to that one today. So when we come back, we'll have suggestions of how you can be part of the solution to healing America's body politic, starting with your friends and family.
This episode is sponsored by Listen First Project. which serves hundreds of community organizations focused on bridging divides. Members of the Listen First Coalition provide training and events so together we can create a more perfect union. Join the movement by signing the Listen First Pledge at listenfirstproject.org.
And we're back with some simple things that you can do as part of the healing force of citizens. This first one is a statement that you can make with a social media post. It's called Return to Respect. Now, this simple phrase is being promoted by my friend in North Carolina. Her name is Brenda. And she sent me an email recently, which she shared that a family drama had been healed when her family members started respecting each other instead of assuming and accusing each other of bad intentions. Now, back in earlier times, when more people wore hats, a tip of the hat was a sign of respect to another person. So Brenda is now inviting people to tip their hat in a photo and then post it on Instagram using the hashtag return to respect. So follow her page and join in the hat tipping fun. The second thing that you can do, that we can do, is to become better listeners. On the surface, this seems simple enough, right? We all know how to listen to others. But active or deep listening is a learned skill. And more of us need to learn how to do it. Did you know that there are at least 7 aspects of active or deep listening? 7! First of all, there's the hearing itself, like literally being able to hear what is being said. The next is auditory processing. And when I was in school, they actually called this comprehension. Like, are you actually understanding what the person is saying? The third thing is nonverbal cues, like tone or body language and other social cues. And that, just a reminder to all of us, like 80 to 90% of all communication is nonverbal. This third step is really important. The fourth part of this is to maintain our attention on the person that we are listening to. Maybe your phone, your text app on your phone is blowing up. Put it away where you cannot hear or see it. There is nothing in our distracted culture that frustrates me more than when I am trying to share something deeply with someone I know and they are looking at their damn phone. Focus on being with your friends. It means so much. All right, here's the fifth thing. We have to regulate our own emotions as we're actively or deeply listening to someone else. Because when we're actively listening, we may have an opinion about what just got said or a correction. Now, this is where I am most challenged. When I'm uncomfortable, I want to interrupt and stop the discomfort. I have to catch myself and notice that I have actually stopped listening, and I'm now like having this conversation playing in my head. Sometimes I need to take a couple of deep breaths to recover, and I may even ask the person I'm supposed to be listening to take a quick pause while I do this. And I'll just fess up and say, hey, I got distracted and my mind went away for a minute. Can you please repeat what you just said so I can really hear it? Acknowledging the distraction and coming back actually increases trust, and we need more trust too. Now, this is number 6, and this part is really tricky because as we're actively listening, we need to be aware of all of these inputs and we need to integrate them. In other words, we need to be aware of the words, the body language, what our processing is, and then any elevated emotions within ourselves. If we're in a work environment, there could also be some like visual presentations happening at the same time. And so knowing how we integrate information in ourselves is essential for this step to be done really well. This is part of the skills building, right? And knowing what my own process is, but also knowing what the process is of somebody who might be listening to me. So for instance, my partner gets overwhelmed if I try to have a big conversation in one sitting. So I've learned to split up big conversations into small pieces over several days. And I help him listen to me by not insisting on talking about everything all at once. We can note our own preference and then be flexible as well in how we listen to others. And here's the last one, the seventh one. Respond with active listening cues. How does someone know that you're actually listening to them? Well, you need to nod your head occasionally, maybe make a wow noise. Facial expressions of like, I am looking directly into your eyes. I care about you. These are the nonverbal cues we need to give back to let somebody know that they're being listened to. Whew. Well, that was it for tip 2. That was a big one, right? There's one last way that we can help heal the body politic in America. And that's to check in on a friend that you've lost touch with. Now, don't talk about politics. Just catch up on life. What's new with them? Listen closely and don't take any offered bait to argue. You might come up with a list of questions to deflect from any sensitive topics. Unless, of course, you both love arguing. There are a few folks who think it's fun. That's diversity. Well, after years of feeling like the world is spiraling into a pit of despair and anger and fear, is it possible that we have gotten tired of the chaos? Are we finding a path forward together towards a multicultural society where we are moving to a brighter future? I sure hope so. I'd like to thank our sponsor once again, Listen First Project, which serves hundreds of community organizations focused on bridging divides. Members of the Listen First Coalition provide training and events like those skills we went through so that we can create a more perfect union. Join the movement by signing the Listen First Pledge at listenfirstproject.org. And I'd like to end this podcast with an invitation for you. Think about your happy place, and just picture yourself there. The invitation is to take 5 minutes every day and sit in your happy place, in your imagination, and thinking about your future preferred life. Feel some awe and wonder about what you want, that you could actually achieve this. If we all did this for 5 minutes every day, neuroscience has shown us that we could actually create that future that we're envisioning together. So the choice is ours. We can actually co-create a future we prefer, like healing the body politic, or we can continue feeding on the poison fed to us by conflict profiteers. I think the choice is pretty clear. There is a national research project going on about American futures and what you envision for yourself. You can participate by going to americanfuture.us and click on the self-interview button. In closing today's show, I'd like to thank you, the listeners, for giving a damn about our nation. We may be a terrified nation today, but we can do better. We can save the USA. Join me next time.
So that's it for today's episode of Terrified Nation. Head on over to iTunes or wherever you listen to subscribe to the show. You can get advance notice of new episodes and bonus content by signing up. Head over to terrifiednation.com and join us on the next episode.